Welcome back. So this week we'll make some sourdough focaccia. This is such a soft and pillowy bread. I couldn't get enough of it. If you don't have a sourdough starter yet, click the link in the top right corner to learn how to make one. I also have a video for yeasted focaccia, which you'll find up there too. But for now, let's get on with this beautiful thing. And as always, you'll find all the weights and measurements down in the description box. But let's begin with the equipment that we'll use. Now you can bake it on a tray, but a cast iron skillet will give you the best results. I'm going to use some parchment paper to place the focaccia on. And then the usual suspects: bowl, scale, scraper and your temperature probe. For the ingredients, some strong white bread flour, water, sea salt, some olive oil and a happy sourdough starter. And you'll need some toppings. This time I used some diced cheddar and some caramelized onions with a bit of rosemary and garlic. But you can top your focaccia with whatever you like. So before we start, I know my kitchen is around 25-26 degrees C, it's quite warm. So I want my water to be around 19-20 degrees Celsius, just to slow down the fermentation. So the first step is to build the leaven. We will mix a portion of the total water, a portion of the total flour and a little bit of the sourdough starter. I'll leave it to ferment for 12 to 16 hours. And remember that every starter is different and the conditions in every kitchen are different, so yours might take longer or it might take less time. It's up for you to learn. But it's as simple as that. Just mix the ingredients until you don't see any more dry flour, cover them up and leave them to ferment. And it should at least double or triple in size. Now it's the following day, you see massive difference. It's full of bubbles, really nice and light and quite wobbly. That is a good sign. You want your leaven to be strong. If it's runny, like liquid, then it's overproofed, and the best thing you can do then is make some pancakes or crackers. But this one looks about perfect for me. So now we'll do an autolyse, which is a step taken to greatly improve gluten development in high hydration dough. We will mix the rest of the flour and the rest of the water and leave it to sit. But do leave a couple of tablespoons of water. We'll use this to dissolve the salt in, because we are not adding the salt to the autolyse. So add most of your water to your leaven and the rest of the flour and just give it a good mix until you don't see any more dry floury bits. And then use the water to dissolve all the large salt crystals. Flour contains two proteins called gluten and gliadin, which together create gluten. And proper hydration of the flour will help us achieve that. At the moment, this is just a soggy mass. But once we cover it and leave it to sit for at least 1 hour, we'll see a massive difference. Now, if you pull the dough, you will notice that it's completely changed. Look how stretchy it is. It's full of gluten. If we had not taken this step, it would be very difficult to knead the dough, and it will take a lot longer. It would be like stirring porridge with your hands for half an hour. But now, it will be very easy. So just add your salty water and squeeze everything together. Just give it a good mix in the bowl. Once you've mixed it all up, tip it out on your table and we can start the kneading process. I like to have a bit of water in my scraper. If you wet your hands and your scraper, it will make it a lot easier to handle the dough. But just don't wet them too much because you don't want to be adding water to the recipe. And kneading such a wet dough requires the stretch and fold method. It's quite simple. All you need to do is pick the dough up by one side, stretch it against the table and fold it forwards and repeat. And don't worry if it's a sticky mess. That's what it's supposed to be like. That's how it is. Just keep at it. The main thing to note is that it will greatly help you if you use a light touch and if you do it quickly. And once in a while you can wet your hands and you use your scraper, just scrape it all up. It's been about 5 minutes and I can feel the dough has become a lot less sticky and more stretchy and elastic. I mean, it will still be quite sticky, don't get me wrong, so just keep at it. In total, it'll take around 10 to 15 minutes of kneading. And if you want to count it, that's 500 turns. And once you're happy with it, just scrape it together. And always remember, use wet hands when handling such sticky dough. You can see now that it's really nice and smooth, super stretchy. I think it's about ready. We will fold the dough during the fermentation process. This will give it more gluten as well. So once everything's nice and mixed, get your bowl, add a little bit of the olive oil into the bowl. Then place the dough ball in and take the temperature. It's very important. 24 to 25 degrees C is just about perfect for this dough. And it'll take around 2.5 hours total proofing time. Now cover it up, leave it to proof for 30 minutes. And after the first 30 minutes, we'll perform a fold. So to perform a fold, always use wet hands, lift the dough up by the middle, try to release it from the bowl, and roll it underneath itself. This is called a coil fold, because you are rolling the dough up like a coil. It'll be super stretchy and soggy in the beginning, but as you do more folds throughout the fermentation process, it'll become a lot stronger. You want to roll the dough underneath itself, then turn the bowl and repeat this on all corners. We will do quite a few folds for this dough, because it is quite loose, and we are also trying to work in the olive oil. But you don't have to go too crazy, just do a couple of folds, cover it up, leave it to proof for another 30 minutes, and then we'll do a second fold. And just as before, use wet hands, pick the dough up by the middle, release it from the bowl, and roll it underneath itself, and repeat on all corners. Folding serves three purposes in this particular dough. One, the dough is very loose, so as you fold it, you create more layers in the gluten structure, thus making it stronger. Two, it will work in the olive oil from the bowl into the dough. It'll be a lot easier to do it this way than try to work it in as you are kneading the dough. And three, it will equalize the temperature. So my kitchen is quite warm, so my dough might be warm on the outside and cooler in the middle. By folding it, I distribute that temperature evenly throughout the dough, thus giving me an even fermentation. And this particular dough required 4 folds at 30-minute intervals. Now if your dough is warmer or cooler, you might want to give it another fold and proof it for another 30 minutes. Or if it's too warm, you might want to reduce the proofing time. But this was just about right for me. Now after the 4th fold, what I'll do, I'll get my parchment paper, add a little bit of olive oil and place the dough on top of it. And if you're baking your focaccia on a baking tray, like a non-stick baking sheet, you can just oil the tray and place your dough straight on it. But because I will transfer this to a hot pan, I need a parchment paper. So just place your dough wherever you're going to place it, rub the top of it with the rest of the olive oil, and we'll leave it to proof for another 30 minutes. And don't stretch the dough at this point. We'll let the gluten relax and we'll shape it just before baking. And whilst it's proofing, I'll preheat my oven, 220 degrees C, no fan, and also preheat my pan. And as you can see, the dough is spread out and risen quite a lot, which is very good. Now we can add the toppings. So as I said before, I'm going to use some caramelized onions and some cheddar cheese, and a bit of sea salt to top it off. And don't go too crazy here, less is more. If you put too many toppings on, the dough will not bake properly. And if you're adding cheese, it's better to add cubes than grated, otherwise it'll burn. And once you've added all your toppings, dimple them in with your fingertips. You want to press them in to make them one with the dough. And then if you like, finish off with a bit of sea salt. And give it a nice salty crunch in every bite. And that is it, we are ready to bake. I can already see that this will be beautiful. So if yours is on a tray, just place it straight into the oven. I'm going to use this hot pan and just lift it into that. And the bake should take no more than 30 minutes. I must add that the hot surface of the pan will make the bread jump up and rise a bit better than a tray would. And that's a sourdough focaccia. Look at that. It's really worth the effort you put in. The dough that we made was quite sticky and quite hard to work with. But if you are persistent, you'll end up with something like this. And as always, if you have any questions or suggestions, write them down in comments. If you are new to this channel, consider subscribing. More bread videos coming up. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.